Gorgonite scum a stop!
Major Chip Hazard, reporting for duty, sir. Secure the perimeter. Are you scared? We're all scared. You'd have to be crazy not to be scared. Son, you can be a prisoner or a casualty. It's up to you.
When I was a kid, I thought Small Soldiers was simple. The toys came to life, the army soldiers were cool, the monsters were weird, and Chip Hazard? Chip Hazard was one of the coolest villains ever made.
Don't fire till you see the whites of his eyes.
I mean, come on. At one point, a bunch of action figures rolling out of a garage through fire, through flames, corn cob shooters, nail guns. The innovation excites me. As a kid, that's peak cinema. But watching Small Soldiers now, it doesn't feel like a movie about magic. It doesn't even feel like a movie about evil toys. It feels like a movie about people creating systems that they don't understand, putting those systems into the world, and then acting shocked when those systems create consequence. Because the more you peel this movie back, the more things become kind of uncomfortable. The scary part isn't the toy that comes to life. The scary part is everything was working in the exact way it was designed to.
The Commando Elite are designed to fight the Gorgonites.
Chip Hazard isn't broken. He's working perfectly. The Commando Elite are not confused. The Gorgonites are not really villains. The engineer's not trying to hurt anyone. The CEO's not surprised for very long. And even the people buying the toys, you, the consumer, aren't completely innocent. Everyone's part of a system, and every system in this movie has the same problem. So today we're peeling back the layers of Small Soldiers, not just the nostalgia, not just the action figure chaos. We're going deeper because as a child, I thought that Small Soldiers was about toys magically coming to life. As an adult, I realized there's nothing magical about it.
We got us a war to win.
Before we get into the darker stuff, I think we all need to take a second and truly marvel at how great this movie is. It's weirdly cool. The toy sequences hold up way better than you would expect for 1998. The characters move through real environments. The way the action's scaled to toys. The way the Commando Elite roll out like a miniature army. And it still worked. Because if the toys felt fake and the movie wasn't immersive, everything would just fall flat. You have to fall in love with the toy before you question the toy.
Here, Major Chip Hazard, he's the one. How much are these? A lot.
All the toys felt like something you could have owned, something you could have played with, something you imagined doing when you were a kid. That's the fantasy. What if your action figures were more than action figures? What if your G.I. Joe could get up, complete missions on his own, and you kind of just watched, told him what to do? That's why Chip Hazard hits so hard as a kid. He's not just a toy soldier. He's the toy soldier completed. He talks, he commands, he plans, he learns. He leads, he fights. He's everything a kid pretended that an action figure was, but he was actually doing it. And that's why this movie has to start by being fun. Because we have to want the toys first. That dangerous idea, it's gotta look awesome, or else no one's buying in. The Commando Elite roll out in these RC vehicles. They have nail guns attached to their trucks. They have corncob launchers attached. They're shooting fiery discs, they're shooting tennis balls. And they blast through that garage with war playing in the background. They blast through the garage like a combat zone. You're just thinking, how sick was that? This is what I want my toys to do. And the soldiers, they're not soldiers, they're products. That's when the first layer starts to crack. Because Small Soldiers isn't asking, what if this toy came to life? It's asking, what happens when this toy stops behaving like a toy?
We're all scared. You'd have to be crazy not to be scared.
The first trick Small Soldiers pulls is its marketing. Immediately you think the Commando Elite are the good guys and these ugly monsters are the bad guys. That's how it has always been. Commando Elite look like heroes, soldiers. They have weapons. They have slogans. They have attitude. And of course, they have Major Chip Hazard. The Gorgonites, meanwhile, look like villains. They're strange, awkward, very 90s unique.
Gorgonite scum!
So if you were walking down the toy aisle and never seen the movie, you would think, army guys, good. Monsters, bad. But the movie actually flips that immediately. The Gorgonites are not trying to conquer anything. They're not trying to hurt anyone. They're not even trying to win. They're trying to survive. They want safety and belonging. They want a home. They want Gorgon. And that's sadder than I remember because Gorgon doesn't exist. The Gorgonites may be searching for a home that only exists because they're programmed to find it. As a kid, I saw them as these underdog monsters, but watching it now, they feel like refugees from a story that someone else wrote for them. They were created to lose. That's the part that makes the movie interesting, not good toys versus bad toys. The toy line itself is based around the Commando Elite defeating the Gorgonites again and again. So when the Gorgonites run, hide, then don't fight back, that's not cowardice. That's their reality. They exist in a system where the other side is trying to destroy them constantly. One side was programmed for conquest, and one side was programmed for longing. One side looks for the enemy, one side looks for home. And once you see that, the whole movie changes. This is the point where we realize, whoa, AI predicted this movie. Because the movie's not really about intelligence itself. It's about purpose. The Commando Elite are intelligent. They learn, they plan, they communicate, they gather information, they repair each other, they repurpose their tools, they adapt constantly, but only in one direction, towards the mission. Chip Hazard never stops and asks, should I be doing this? He only asks, how can I do this better? And that's the difference. Chip's not evil in a villain kind of way. He's not greedy, he's not jealous, he's not trying to rule the world. He's doing exactly what he's programmed to do. And honestly, that's scarier, because Chip Hazard's the purest form of obedience without morality.
The rules of engagement have changed.
He has intelligence, but not wisdom.
There will be no mercy.
Discipline, but not judgment. Loyalty, but no consequence.
If it launches, lacerates, or detonates, I want it mobile and I want it lethal.
And Tommy Lee Jones is a huge reason this works. He doesn't play Chip Hazard like a cartoon villain. He plays him completely straight.
No poor sap ever won a war by dying for his country.
Every line sounds like it's coming from a general trapped inside Chip Hazard.
He won it by being all that he can be.
And that's why Chip's funny and unsettling.
You are the best of the few, and the proud.
He has no idea that the scale around him is so absurd.
So ask not what your country can do for you, only regret that you have but one life.
He treats a suburban neighborhood like a battlefield. He treats toys like troops. He treats children like obstacles. And he treats Gorgonites like enemy combatants. Chip Hazard is not malfunctioning. He's succeeding. And that's the tragedy of him. Without a mission, what is he? Now compare that to the Gorgonites. They're programmed too. The movie's not saying one side's programmed and the other side is free. The Gorgonites also have a directive. They're searching for Gorgon. They're trying to fulfill the story that's been built for them. But the way they respond to the world is different. They hide, they observe, they wait. They use timing and misdirection. They avoid direct combat. They adapt to the situation without forcing every situation to become violent. That's why the hostage exchange scene matters. The Commando Elite expect a clean transaction, a box, a trade, a rule, a simple exchange, but the Gorgonites don't think that way. They adapt. They use the setup against them. They bend expectation. They create an opening. The Commando Elite act like the rules define reality. The Gorgonites act like reality can change the rules. That's the split. The Commando Elite are execution-based intelligence. The Gorgonites are survival-based intelligence. And that's why it matters that the Gorgonites barely fight throughout the entire movie. They're not weak soldiers, and they're not soldiers at all. They're not optimized for dominance. They're optimized for endurance. And that's why I think we root for them. Not because they're stronger, but because they feel alive. Now we start moving up the chain, because if Chip Hazard isn't the villain, then who is? The easy answer is Globotech. And honestly, Globotech's a great candidate. They buy a toy company, they rush production, they use military technology and consumer products, turning swords into plowshares. They ignore the warning signs. They care more about getting the toys on the shelves than understanding what they actually built. But what makes this layer interesting is none of these guys are cartoonishly evil either. They don't have bad intentions. They're not trying to make weapons. Larry wants to make a cool toy. Irwin knows the timeline's dangerous. Ralph loves the chip because he made it. Gail Mars wants results. Everyone's following their own incentive. That's the key. Larry thinks like a toy designer. Ralph thinks like an engineer. Gail Mars thinks like a CEO. The Commando Elite think like soldiers. And the consumers are thinking like consumers. Everyone defines success within their own box. Nobody steps outside the box and asks if the entire project makes sense. And that's where Ralph becomes important. When the damage starts becoming obvious, his first instinct isn't moral concern. It's technical defense.
Like a smart drug for machines. Then, imagine it can learn.
What are you talking about? Artificial intelligence?
No.
He created a masterpiece. The chip works fine. He didn't choose where they put his chip. But that's exactly the problem. Because he's asking, did I build something powerful? Not, was it wise to put this in a toy? And that might be the most modern part of the movie.
Password to order surplus military chips that might be dangerous? Hey.
Because we still do this. We still judge technology based on if we can sell it or not. Whether it works, whether it scales, whether it impresses people, or whether it beats the competition. The question of whether it should exist, that comes way later, if it comes at all. And Gale Mars is the corporate version of this mindset.
Why don't you move your truck with the giant Globotech logo on it before the damn news crews get here?
By the end of the movie, he shows up in a helicopter, and he starts handing out checks. The movie reveals the coldest layer of the whole system.
Excuse me, you're not off the hook yet. There's just a little matter of the massive damage to my home, and my garage, and my audio-visual component system, and this is good, thanks.
Bye-bye.
People's homes have been damaged, families displaced. Joe, the delivery truck driver, he's got some issues now too. A product hurt people that never understood it, never consented to it, and didn't have control over it. And Gale Mars treats the whole thing like a cleanup expense.
Pain and the anguish and the
Humiliation.
The humiliation. I don't think even you have enough money to pay for that. Okay, maybe you do.
He doesn't stay and reckon with what happened. He prices the damage, he pays it out, he moves on. It shows how the system handles harm. It doesn't ask who's responsible, it asks what's the settlement value. The checks are accountability. The checks are closure, corporate closure. A way for the system to absorb the consequences and keep moving. And that's why Gale Mars is scarier than Chip Hazard in a way. Chip can't escape the mission. Intelligence is not the same thing as understanding. The toys learn, they adapt. They process information and they solve problems. They gather data, but none of that gives them wisdom. And that's the scary part. The Commando Elite can read the world. They can use the information, but they don't understand the meaning. Alan's having this awkward teenage conversation with Christy. To him, it's embarrassing. To Christy, it's just another day at the office. But to the Commando Elite, it's intel, relationship data, opportunity, weakness. They're not listening like people, they're processing like a system. And that feels modern. Because a system doesn't have to understand human feelings to understand human behavior. It just has to process the signal. That's the difference between reading the world and understanding it. The question reality sticker on Alan's computer, I think, fits here beautifully. It's a small visual detail, but it makes the movie feel like it's defining its own theme. Alan's one of the only people that keeps questioning what's happening.
Damn potholes.
And then there's the line about the wind. Just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's basically the movie's whole argument, hiding in plain sight. Because Small Soldiers is full of invisible systems. Corporate pressure is invisible until the product fails. Military logic is invisible until the toys start executing it. Consumer demand is invisible until the slogan starts sounding like a warning.
Globotech, turning swords into plowshares.
Chip's power is invisible until it becomes behavior. The systems are really there before anyone sees them. And by the time they become visible, they're already causing damage. That's what makes the movie hit harder now. Not that the toys become alive, because that's the fun part. The frightening part is, the logic was alive before anyone noticed.
We are the Commando Elite. Everything else is just a toy.
This is the layer where the movie starts pointing back at us. Because Small Soldiers gives the perfect slogan. Everything else is just a toy. And as a kid, that sounds awesome. As an adult, sounds like a warning, because the company's not saying we made a fun toy. They're saying we made more than a toy. We made something beyond a toy. Something smarter, cooler, more realistic, more immersive. And that only works in marketing if the people really want that. And that's why Mr. Fimple is more important than he seems. At first, he's just the annoying neighbor with the satellite dish and the home theater system. He's trying to set it up the entire movie. But he's also the consumer endpoint of the entire movie. He wants the best signal, the best picture, the best entertainment experience.
I think World War II was my favorite war.
While one technological system's going wild outside, he's inside trying to perfect his own. That's not random. It's the same pattern at a smaller scale. Ralph wants a better chip, Larry wants better toys, Gale Mars wants better sales, Mr. Fimple, he wants a better viewing experience. And the customer, they want something more. Nobody's trying to destroy the world, everyone's just optimizing. And that's the uncomfortable part. The disaster doesn't happen because everyone's evil. It happens because everyone wants their system to be better. But nobody asks what happens when all those systems connect. So I don't think Small Soldiers is saying consumers are the villain. That would be too easy. But it is saying that consumer demand is part of the chain. The company only sells more than a toy because the consumers will buy more than a toy. And that's where the movie starts feeling modern, because that same pattern is everywhere now. Smart devices, algorithms, AI tools, recommendation feeds, convenience apps, delivery apps. Everything starts with, wouldn't it be cool if? Wouldn't it be cool if the toys could talk? Wouldn't it be cool if the toys could learn, if they could think? Wouldn't it be cool if they felt real? And then they do. And suddenly the question changes. Not, can we build it? But why did we build it before we understood it? So after all that, who is the villain in Small Soldiers? Because if you're a kid, the answer feels obvious. Chip Hazard. He's the one giving the orders. He's hunting down the Gorgonites. He's the one who will not stop. But after peeling this movie back, that answer feels way too small. Chip is not the author of the system. He's the system in motion. So is it the Commando Elite? Not really. They're trapped inside the same programming as Chip. Is it Larry? Well, he's careless. He bought the chips, had them sent, put them inside the toys, but he's not the whole problem. Is it Ralph? Well, he built the chip, but he didn't decide what it was going in. Is it Gail Mars? But even he feels less like the villain and more like the head of a company, the executive function of a system. Is it Globotech? Closer. Globotech's the machine that turns swords into plowshares, military capability into consumer products. They took something designed for conflict and they put it in the toy aisle. But even Globotech is responding to something bigger. A market, a culture, a demand, a belief. And that belief, I think, is the real villain. The belief that every new capability can be a product. That if something better can be made, we should produce it. Someone will sell it, and you will buy it. And that's the deepest layer of Small Soldiers. It's not about evil machines. It's not about the toys magically coming to life. It's about systems doing exactly what systems do. The Commando Elite complete the mission. The Gorgonites search for home. Ralph defends the chip. Larry builds the coolest toy. Gail Mars pays off the damage and moves on. Mr. Fimple chases the perfect entertainment system. And the consumer, they want something more than a toy.
Are you on crank?
Everybody has a goal. Everybody has an incentive. Everybody has a job to do. And that's why everything goes wrong. Not because nobody had a goal, but because everybody had a goal. And none of those goals included wisdom. That's the payoff of the whole movie. The toy fantasy was not innocent. The good guys and the bad guys were marketing. Chip Hazard wasn't broken. The military logic was not an accident. The corporation was not confused. The technology was not understanding anything. The consumer demand was part of the chain. And by the end, you realize the scariest part of Small Soldiers. It's not one evil person making an evil choice. It's a bunch of normal people inside their own systems, making normal decisions until those decisions form into something nobody can control. And that's why the movie still works. Because the villain isn't Chip Hazard. Chip can be fried, the Commando Elite can be destroyed. Globotech can write checks and the neighborhood can be rebuilt. But the belief underneath all of that everything powerful must be turned into a product, that's much harder to kill. Because the technology changed. The systems didn't. Before we get to the ending, I want to know what you think. Who do you think is actually responsible in Small Soldiers? Is it Chip, Globotech, Larry, or is the movie pointing at something bigger? Drop it in the comments, because I honestly think this is one of those movies where every time you watch it, your answer might change. And that brings us to the ending, because the ending of Small Soldiers was a little stranger than I recall. After the chaos in the battle and Chip Hazard is fried, Alan takes the Gorgonites away to his state park, and he lets them sail away. They're still searching for Gorgon, and that question kind of hangs over the whole ending of the movie. Will they ever find it? Does Gorgon even exist? That's quietly devastating. Because if Gorgon doesn't exist, then the Gorgonites are still following their programming. They're free of the Commando Elite and Globotech. They're free from the neighborhood. But are they free from their own directive? Maybe not. Maybe they're doomed to search forever. Or maybe that's the point. Maybe Gorgon isn't a real place. Maybe Gorgon's just the idea of home. There's a place where they aren't going to be attacked for just existing. Because the Commando Elite can't imagine a world without the mission. The Gorgonites can imagine a world beyond the system, even if they never find it. That's the final contrast. The Commando Elite die because they can't stop. The Gorgonites survive because they keep going. Not because they're stronger, not because they win the fight, because honestly, Archer gets his ass kicked by Chip. He shoots his crossbow, the spinny guy twists the rope, flings Archer all the way up, and they have a standoff, and you think, oh, this is gonna be awesome. They're finally fighting each other face to face. Archer gets handled, gets stabbed in the leg, put in a headlock, and then he just gets kicked off the power line. But Archer bought Alan a second, and then Alan fries the system. Because adaptation alone doesn't usually stop a runaway system. Sometimes a system has to be interrupted from the outside, and the Gorgonites survive long enough for that interpretation to happen. That is their victory. They endure. They persist. They refuse to become what's hunting them. And when they finally sail away, the movie doesn't give us any certainty. Small figures drifting towards a place that might not exist. It's a surprisingly weird ending to a movie about killer toys. Because underneath the explosions, underneath the jokes, underneath the toy sequences, the movie's asking something bigger. What happens when we create systems before we understand them? What happens when those systems are built for obedience instead of morality? What happens when military logic enters play? What happens when corporations turn consequences into checks? What happens when consumers want something more than a toy? And what happens to the ones caught inside that system, just trying to survive? As a kid, I thought Small Soldiers was a movie about toys magically coming to life. As an adult, I realized there was nothing magical about it. It was military technology. And that's why I feel this movie's still relevant. The technology might have changed since 1998, but the questions didn't. Maybe the scariest part of the movie isn't that the toys come to life. It was that they were never alive enough to say no.